Welcome back to Millennial Money Moves with Nadia. Today we're kind of switching things up a little bit. As you can see, there's a girl on the couch. This is my friend Claire. We went to undergrad together and she's a realtor. And there's a lot that's been going on with the Evergrande Crisis and their real estate company. And some people in both of our Instagrams have kind of been asking for this. We have been talking about this collab for
too long.
A
very long time.
Yes. And so we're excited that we're finally doing it. I'm going to talk about the Evergrande Crisis and just overall kind of what's been happening with the housing market, sort of the first steps to buying a house and buying versus renting. So before we get started, please take a second and hit the like button, subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell.
So Nadia, what's up?
We making money moves.
Who making money moves?
We making money moves.
You making money moves?
We making money moves.
We making money moves.
We making money.
Welcome back, you guys. So as promised, today I'm going to be talking about the Evergrande Crisis and we're going to go over some real estate topics. So on Monday we kind of saw this decline in the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones, and that's because of the Evergrande Crisis and this huge sell-off in the stock market. I had initially made a video of kind of what I thought this week would look like, given the whole September effect and how stocks are usually perform poorly during this month as is. On an average, the S&P and the Dow are usually down. But as time went on, that video was kind of no longer relevant, and that can happen with the stock market. Sometimes I'll have videos recorded and I'll be all ready to go and have my predictions, and analysts are saying this, and then there's a curveball. And for this week, it was the Evergrande Crisis on Monday, and then on Wednesday, the Fed had their meeting where they kind of talked about what they were doing as far as tapering. So really quickly, I'm going to go over that before we get into everything. So the problem with Evergrande, they're China's second largest real estate company, and they are in some serious debt. They're $300 billion in debt. For me, that's such a big number, I can't even really grasp what $300 billion is, but they're that far into debt. And they aren't just a real estate company. This is what I thought was interesting, because everyone was talking about how they're a real estate company, but they had expanded into healthcare, sports, water, food, and agriculture. And they were kind of just keeping in line with whatever China was going for at the time. And so, they're trying to see how China's government is going to handle this whole situation. Will they help them out, or will they kind of make an example out of this company? And they even tried to move into the electric vehicle space, which I thought was interesting. They weren't developing a car, but they were still trying to move into that space, which I thought was interesting. They were just kind of all over the place. To start from real estate, go into food, sports, health, and water, you can kind of see where they went wrong. I think it looks like they were spending millions and millions of dollars into areas where, maybe they weren't really prepared to go into, and it wasn't successful. And so now the question a lot of people have is, if they've been in debt for all this time, why are we starting to see a result in an issue with it now? But the problem is now they're being required to repay some of those debts, and there was a huge sell-off on Monday. And so a lot of people think that they won't repay these debts and that they'll defer the payments. And so that just means that they're going to pay it later, and that would just cause a series of defaults. Default is the word I was looking for. It's when they don't settle their debt. And so one default could lead to a series of default, which could lead to a panic in credit in all sorts of globally, all over. It wouldn't just affect China, it'll affect places everywhere because of, if they're not paying off their debt, that's going to have a domino effect. And then we kind of saw the stock start to rise again on Wednesday, because after the Fed spoke on Wednesday, it looks like the S&P and the Dow have been okay. Now, they didn't officially say that they would start tapering, but if they do, it would most likely happen in December, with an announcement being made around November. This is from an article I was reading on CNBC. The, I believe, CEO of Charles Schwab was giving out her thoughts and predictions, and I can put that article in the description below, because I think this is kind of a difficult concept to grasp, because why would a real estate company in China affect the stock market, and what is tapering? So I kind of want to go into more detail on those things in the future, but it's been a really crazy week for the stock market, and since Evergrande is primarily a real estate company, I thought now would be an ideal time for us to talk about real estate. And so I'm going to give the mic to Claire so she can do a little intro, and then our first question that we're going to tackle is, where do you kind of start if you want to go buy a house?
Thank you. So yes, again, my name is Claire. I am a real estate agent here in Chicago. I'm with Compass. And to start off with this first question here, where do you start when you're looking to buy a house? The first thing that you want to do is talk to a lender, and you're going to want to shop around and talk to multiple lenders because they'll be able to give you different rates. They might have different packages. So it's important that you don't just go to the first person that you see, and you're going to want to get pre-approved, and that'll tell you how much money you'll be able to, or how much house, I guess I should say, you will be able to afford. So they'll take a look at your financial situation and they'll give you a number. They'll say, this is how much of a mortgage you're able to get. This is how much, this is the purchase price that you should be looking for when you're looking for your house. And it's important to do this because you don't want to spend a lot of time looking at places that are, more than you can afford. And then when you talk to a lender, you're disappointed and you can't get the dream house that you wanted. So definitely talk to lenders and get your pre-approval.
I think that's really good. And just in general, when it comes to spending money, I think budgeting yourself and not overspending is a useful tip. And it sounds like the same kind of concept here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I know, I try to explain it in the most relatable terms because I feel like people get lost in terms. Because I know when I first heard about this, I was like, what's a lender? Like, so many things I didn't know about. But I hope this is kind of helping you guys break it down, at least where to go at first. So what's the next step after I find the right lender for me?
Yeah, so the lender, like I said, will take a look in your financial situation. So they'll look at your income, which will be either through your W-2s, your pay stubs, or your tax return. And then they'll also take a look into your bank account. So they'll see how much cash you have on hand, what your assets are, what your debt is. So they'll take a really in-depth look at everything, and then they'll give you a number, and then from there you can connect with a realtor and start your house search.
Okay. I know a thing you mentioned to me earlier too was avoiding making other big purchases.
Oh yeah.
If you wanted to.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're getting your mortgage, it's important that you don't take on other debt. So you don't take out other loans. Don't buy a car, don't buy a boat, don't take on big purchases because that'll all be taken into account and that'll affect how much you can take out for a mortgage.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks. And so what would you say the current housing market looks like for those who, maybe now they know where to start and are thinking about buying a home?
Yeah, so if you've been paying attention at all to the housing market, you'll know everybody has been saying it's a really hot market. And I want to preface this by saying that real estate is hyper-local. It really depends on who you are. So whether you're a renter, you're looking to sell, you're looking to buy, where you are. So it can vary a lot depending on your town or your neighborhood even. And then what types of properties you're looking to buy. For example, during the pandemic, downtown Chicago, a lot of people were moving out to the suburbs. Yeah. They didn't want to be in high-rises downtown anymore. So in the suburban market, everything was crazy. Houses were flying off the shelves, going for premiums. And then downtown, people selling condos were really, really struggling. So it really just depends. And if you want to talk about your current situation, you want to talk about your local market, you can definitely reach out to me and we can chat about that.
Yes. I'm going to put the links to her socials. She has an Instagram, TikTok, and I'm going to put her email address too if you want to reach out to her. She helped me find this apartment that I'm living in, and I love it. So she definitely does a great job if you guys are in Chicago or the Chicagoland area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so you should definitely reach out to her if you're interested. And what are your thoughts on buying versus renting? I know I mentioned I rent where I live now. I eventually want to start to do a video kind of more like vlog style, what I spend in a day and the expenses. And my rent right now is a little over $2,000. And so a lot of people are like, you're just throwing that money away, why do you rent? But if for me right now, it makes more sense to rent than it does to buy. But I wanted to hear your thoughts on buying versus renting.
Yeah, so it definitely depends on, again, your current situation. It might not make sense for everyone to jump into buying. However, if you're looking to build your wealth, which I know is what we focus on your channel,
Yes.
The thing to do is definitely to buy. When you're renting, you are just putting money, you're giving your money towards the landlord and the property owner, who is using that money to pay off the property and build their wealth. So if you own your own property, your mortgage payments are going towards paying off that property, which is an asset. So you're again building your equity, you're building your wealth. There are a lot of misconceptions when it comes to jumping into buying that I want to touch on. The first being that you have to put a ton of money down in cash when you buy. A lot of people think that you have to put 20% of the purchase price down as a down payment, which is essentially just cash up front when you purchase a house. You don't need to do that with an FHA loan, which is a government-backed loan for first-time home buyers. You can put as little as 3.5% down. So that makes it much easier for people to begin their process as a home buyer. The second thing is that it is a bit of a process. That's why you have a real estate agent to help you navigate everything. But a lot of people don't understand really what they can afford. And what you can do is, like I said earlier, you can get pre-approved. If you don't want to jump into getting a pre-approval, you're maybe not ready for that yet, but you kind of want to start to get a sense for what you could afford in a house. You can reach out to me. I actually have this nifty little spreadsheet that you can tell me how much your current rent payments are, and I can tell you based on that, this is how much house you can afford. And that takes into consideration your mortgage payments, your taxes, homeowner's insurance, any of the costs and expenses that go into owning a home, so that you can see, right now I'm spending this much money on renting, this is how much you could afford if you were to buy.
Yeah. And I love that. I think that tool is super useful. So again, if you guys are in the area, you should definitely reach out, because I think one of the biggest things when it comes to building wealth is just kind of informing yourself and educating yourself. That's been kind of the first steps for me. Like, before I put any real money in the market, I was watching videos and reading articles about investing in the stock market and what it is. And I'm still educating myself because there's a lot that goes into it. And for me, my next big girl purchase, I want to be buying property. I want to own property. That might be a couple years down the line for me, but at least now, I asked Claire and I asked Noemi. If you guys haven't seen that video with my friend Noemi, she came on my channel and she talked about being a homeowner at a very young age. And so I think that's really, I think she was like 19 or 20 or something when she bought a house. Crazy, yeah. And so that's kind of the next step for me, but my first step was educating myself. And this whole channel is supposed to be about me taking you guys on my journey of learning about learning about investing and building generational wealth. So again, thank you for coming on my channel.
Of course.
Yes, we've been wanting to do this for a while, and there will most likely be more videos in the future. I'll probably do the one we originally planned with Claire and Noemi, where we kind of walk through more steps of buying a house and what it looks like and what her experience is like. So again, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell, and let us know what you guys thought about this video, because something different. We want to give new content. My next video will be stock pick. I have a couple that I've been interested in. Again, like I said, with this whole Evergrande Crisis and Monday and the huge sell-off and Wednesday and the Fed, it's a little all over the place. And so it's just, but I still think right now is a good time to enter in if you're trying to enter into the stock market. If you're just starting, it's always going to be, I understand the fear that goes into investing, but you're going to grow your money a lot more by putting it in the stock market versus putting it in a savings account. And investing in real estate is also a good option if you're already in the stock market and want to build, grow your assets and have more equity. That's another way to do it. And So remember, we're making money moves. Talk to you guys later.